Greetings, current and hopefully future friends of the channel, and welcome back to another episode of How Do People with Too Much Time on Their Hands Spend Their Days? Join me as we find out firsthand. It is, of course, by leveling Classic WoW on the official hardcore servers. Only we won't be doing it the normal way. No. That would be way too easy. We will be attempting to beat the game, meaning levels 1 through 60 without dying and only using our fists. We will at no point be equipping a weapon, a shield, or an offhand piece, so we will be ready at all times to hand out some much needed justice. Most of what you will be seeing here has also been live streamed to my YouTube channel, so if you ever catch me live, then I would love for you to also join me there, of course, because it does make streaming a lot more fun. But if you can't catch me live, then this is a good way to sort of follow this series as we progress through the levels. As this takes quite a long time to do, I expect this to be a longer series with fewer uploads the further we go, but I also have some non-WoW related stuff planned that I absolutely want to do in the meantime also, so keep an eye out for that, and I'm going to be very excited to bring you that shortly, hopefully. As you can see, I decided to roll Human Paladin. The reason I chose Paladin is because out of all the melee classes, these guys are the least restricted by not using a melee weapon in their kit. Obviously, if I was a warrior or a rogue, then I could barely use any of my abilities. I guess a warrior could maybe charge and thunderclap, and a rogue could always kick without a weapon. But other than that, I don't think there's too much you can do. So that's why, obviously, I decided to go for Paladin. Which, you know, if you're playing them normally, they are probably the most boring out of all classes to level, but if you're going to be doing an unarmed build as a melee, then they actually retain most of their normal playthrough's abilities. They just deal a whole lot less damage by hitting, but that even is mitigated by being able to use Seal of Righteousness, so you at least always have some bonus holy damage, and, you know, you can sort of spec into that a little bit in the holy tree. The talent tree that we're going to be going for is still, you know, being debated, but I guess we will see in the coming episodes what I choose to go for and whether I end up respecking at any point. I do know that I probably won't be going too deep into the prot tree because, as I said, we won't be using a shield, and that means that I won't benefit from Blessing of Refuge, or even the Holy Shield, which would proc every time we block and then we would deal damage. But like I said, I would really rather avoid having to ever equip a shield of any kind. But if it ever does get too hard, I don't know, maybe I will change my mind about that, but for now we're sticking with the no shield rule. And as you can see here, we're actually competing with another paladin for those wolf spawns, but he couldn't get the first couple of them because he was still wearing his hammer, which has a lower swing rate than our fists, which swing every 2 seconds. So that's why he also tried unequipping his hammer here, so he can compete, but unsuccessfully he leaves the premises. Yeah, that's one of the actual advantages of having fists, and why sometimes you will see casters on level 1, if they're competing on a new server launch with other people, they will actually unequip their staff and just try to tag mobs with their hands. The same could be said for any weapon that is, you know, slower than 2.0 in the early levels, unless you're a rogue, which means you have Sinister Strike, and that makes tagging mobs quite easy, actually. That would probably be as good a time as any to remind you that if you've made it this far, then liking and subscribing is but a small step for you, but a huge leap for the channel, so do try to get around to that if you can. I was really enjoying the interactions we were getting on the live streams, by the way, and I just want to thank all of those that showed up and that even sometimes commented for turning up, and I hope you had fun. Obviously, I am having way more fun playing this game when there's someone around to talk to. And like I said, I will be streaming every Sunday except the next one because I'm on vacation. And after that, you know, I will probably try to stream more often than that. Also, just have to kind of figure out my schedule first. Regarding what's happening on screen, we are just pretty much beating up some Defias thugs with our bare hands, and at the same time collecting some of Millie's harvest before we will hopefully finally be done with Northshire and ready to move on to the real game, if you will. But until that happens, I guess I have some time to talk about off-topic stuff, such as my channel as a whole, and I am working on the exploration series, but it's not really clicking for me at the moment, so I will have to find a way to make this both informative as well as entertaining. So it's kind of on hold for now, as I'm anyways busy with the hardcore series and some other, off-topic, non-WoW related RPG videos that I want to bring you because the games are just very close to my heart and I feel like they maybe didn't get quite the attention they deserved. So that's something to also look out for in the future, of course, and something that I will be working on. But my resources are limited, as I said, and I'll just have to see how to juggle that whole timetable thing and also kind of make steady progress in hardcore WoW without using a weapon. So, we'll see how that goes and how long it actually takes us to get to 60 if we do make it there. But I think being a paladin, we actually have a pretty decent shot at it. I mean, we're gonna get a bunch of get out of jail free cards pretty soon, so that should help us out with our overall leveling strategy, I hope. On that note, we are now in the Fargo Deep Mine, and that is the first big test of the run, because now the mobs are kinda scaling up a little bit, both in levels and in armor, and it's getting harder and harder for us to really kind of get through their defenses and, get those right hooks in, if you will. What's really helping still is also the Blessing of Might, which normally might be, kinda a moot point really on those low levels. You wouldn't really notice it compared to the damage that you're getting from well, you do notice it, but it's not that big of a DPS increase compared to what you're getting from your weapon anyways. But us using your bare hands, it's about 3 damage per hit that we're getting more, and since we're only doing 9 damage on average, or 8 even, 3 is a big number, which is also the reason why I will be using Blessing of Might throughout this leveling series over Blessing of Wisdom. I understand that Blessing of Wisdom is probably a lot better in an ideal world where you're using weapons and you just want to cut down on that time spent regenerating in between rounds, but we are really happy if we can even take down a mob one-on-one, let alone 1v2, so for me the time to kill is more important than cutting down on the time spent regenerating, if that makes any sense to you. As you can see here on the screen, we are going with alchemy actually. The reason being is that I've just spent the last 5 characters as an engineer and I decided to, I just want to see something else sometime, and I do realize that engineering is probably the best profession for this, with the target dummy that you can put up. If you're not aware, you can put up a target dummy and basically it will taunt the enemies that are hitting on you to hit it instead, and it will enable you to run away easily. So that obviously is pretty much a safe bet on any hardcore run, but I just wanted to explore a different profession for once, which is not to say I've never done alchemy before, but I don't know, I guess I just wanted to pick some flowers with this. We are nearing the Crystal Lake territory, which proves to be a very, very dangerous place to be in hardcore, judging by the death notifications that the hardcore add-on has given us on the live stream. If you were watching, then you will probably have noticed there were a lot of people dying in Crystal Lake to those murlocs, and well, us just using our bare hands, we are expending about 50 to 60% of HP just to take down a single mob, which obviously means that if we were to pull 2 at once, we would be in for a bad time, and obviously just as I'm saying that, we are indeed pulling 2 mobs, and you can just kind of see what we're dealing with here, as I am a little bit unsure if I want to fight them head on or just kill one and run away, but I do have Divine Protection now, so I just popped that, heal up real quick, and I am actually successful in dispatching of those 2 fishy foes. I do realize that you don't need to see me beat up every mob, but just to kind of set the scene here and give you guys an idea of what I'm working with, I did decide to include a lot more encounters in this piece than I would in the following videos, more than likely, unless they are especially interesting. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but next time we're going to be seeing levels 10 to 20 in this series, and afterwards, hopefully, I can do a Dead Mines run. Here, by the way, I tried to get invited into the group for Goldtooth, and our French friends briefly let us know that no, they're not interested in helping us out. That was also the first moment where I did realize that I am apparently on the sort of non-English server, if you will, because I'm playing on the EU servers, and apparently the minorities, if you will, have decided, well, I'm not sure if there are technically minorities. I mean, everybody does speak English, but the major language of Europe certainly isn't English in that sense. But anyways, the minorities decided to roll on that server, so that is why we have a lot of French and German and Scandinavian guilds here that are sort of unwilling to communicate in the lingua franca that is English. So, more power to them. I'm just saying that is a factor if you want to choose a server. This is Necrosh. Stitches is, I think, a little bit more international, and you might not have to deal with people that either can't or won't speak English with you. That being said, we make our way into the Jasperload Mine, and in this moment here I am very, very, very nervous because the mine was cleared up to this point and dynamic respawns are, enabled, so I decide after barely dispatching of the Geomancer to get the hell out of there and instead try my luck outside to finish up the large candles and the gold dust. Now we are, I think, almost level 8, but I am still taking great care not to hit mobs above my level if I can help it. What I will also say on the whole paladin business, since we chose paladin, what I noticed is that this still feels a lot more comfortable than warrior leveling. I mean, I have leveled about 7 warriors in my time of playing WoW Classic over the last 12 years or something, and them using a weapon, you still feel a little bit more naked, especially on these early levels, than you do as a paladin without a weapon. Because I have just so many means of sustaining myself, protecting myself, getting away from things with a Hodge. Well, not yet, but we will soon. And it just feels a bit better. The only thing that makes it be actually worse in the long run is the fact that, well, obviously I don't have a weapon that I can scale with, but also I don't have a means of range pulling. So all those quest rewards that we're getting in Elwyn, the rockets from the shipment to Stormwind, what else was it? I think it was like some Cobalt candles from the candle quest that we're going to be getting that apply Fairy Fire. All those means of range pulling are really invaluable. And if we run out of those, then it would be better to be an engineer so we can still throw some bombs or something, but there's also a way around this. If we really, really end up needing to range pull stuff on the regular, then we can always come here, exactly here to the Jasperload Mine, beat up those Cobalt Geomancers for a while when we're higher level, and we can get their magic candles, which are an instant cast rank 1 fireball on range, which allows you to range pull even as a paladin without any other means of doing so. That is a pretty nice item to have on your hardcore playthrough that I can only recommend you get if you struggle with, pulling individual mobs, or you don't want to just risk face pulling everything, which you will see me doing a lot as soon as we hit Westfall and Lockmodon. The whole game sort of becomes a puzzle in a way, as to which mob you can get away from his pack and which mobs are linked. And if you do get 2 mobs, then you can still try and run away and fight one of them as you run away, hodge the other, and hope that the second one is going to reset. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, but this feels more like a puzzle than an actual MMORPG, which I don't mind at all. And this, by the way, is the favorite moment of my leveling journey so far. So we have here Holyfield and Iron Mike in the flesh, tag teaming Princess. You cannot make this stuff up. You could not write it better. But the only ears being bitten off that night were Princess's tasty, tasty pig ears. I'm sure of that, because Holyfield and Iron Mike, for once, got along just fine. When I saw this, being super sleep deprived at 2 in the morning, I actually laughed my ass off. That was the best thing that I have ever had randomly happen in a long, long time in WoW Classic. I just loved it. And if you're not familiar about the whole Iron Mike and Holyfield thingy, then you could just Google Holyfield ear and you will probably figure out pretty soon what I'm getting at. That being said, we're still level 7 and kind of out of options. I did say that progressively this will get harder, but on the other hand, later on we would always have the opportunity of tackling green quests, thus, making the chances of us hitting the enemy a lot higher and struggling a lot less. But being level 7, that's not really an option for us unless we want to go back to another starting area and compete for level 3 mobs with 150 people or something, which obviously we don't, so we are kind of forced to do this in a non-ideal route, because we went all the way to the east, but we can't really do Protect the Frontier, we can't really finish up Discover Rolf's Fate and all that. So we hearth back, we turn in a quest, and I did do a lot of running behind the scenes that I cut out here, so I just cut back to us being back at the logging camp at level 8.5. But fret not, the only thing I really did was hearth back to Goldshire, turn in a couple of quests, and basically run all the way back here. I turned in Princess, I turned in the Jasperload Mine, I turned in the Candles, I turned in the Dust, and that puts us at 8.5, and we're sort of ready to tackle the east of Elwyn. The good thing being here, as you can see, we're kind of abusing the fact that there's a lot of players out and about on those first few hours of the hardcore release, so we can just tag Rolf's Fate, complete it, and kind of let these fools, you know, fight for themselves. And here, what always happens to me happens again. I can't take the second part of the quest because my inventory is full at this stage. I swear this happens on every single human that I'm playing. Next up, we're accepting the quest for the red linen goods, and we're going back to beating up some bears, but luckily we meet another paladin friend, and with him it's going a lot faster. Now, in general, what I will say is I'm not trying to get carried doing this run. And later on, you know, as the population kind of thins out and I need to compete for mobs less and less with people, I do make it a habit that I am not mostly inviting other people to my group. If they do invite me, then, you know, I'm not gonna decline, and I won't sort of make them have a bad time, because this is an MMO and I like playing with people. It's just like, if they don't go out of their way to invite me, then I'm not gonna, most of the time, ask them to group with me also, because obviously we're here for this challenge and I want to cheese it as little as possible. With that being said, we are now trying to deal with the red linen goods quest, and as you can see, we're level 8, that guy is level 8, and we're kinda not doing so well beating up these higher level mobs. Like, we are down to 50% HP on pretty much every single one of them. They have a knockdown, so if we pull 2 at once, then it's gonna get pretty dicey, and there are patrolling wolves around. So this guy is even level 9, and we're just doing about 14 damage with a crit plus 4 from our Seal of Righteousness, which is really what's kind of like making this whole run, you know, bearable, I guess. If we didn't have that, if we were a naked warrior with just our fists, we would probably have to do every starting area and always do green quests. Now, as you can see here, I make the mistake of pulling 2 mobs, and I almost pay for it because I get knocked down and I drop down to low HP also. So the only thing that really saves me is having Divine Protection here, and I can only use that once every 5 minutes, obviously. I will get a Blessing of Protection later on, and that only has a 1 minute debuff. Obviously, after, you know, using a different shield, you can still use Blessing of Protection after a minute. So basically, I have like 2 get out of jail free cards, and that again is also the reason why I decided not to go with engineering, because that would just make it too many get out of jail free cards, and I do like to live on the edge a little bit, which is also the reason why I am not always gonna be doing green quests, even though I probably could. I wanna sort of make this semi-challenging and, you know, just see how far we can go with being a little bit reckless also. Because if we just play super safe, then yeah, we can and will absolutely beat this without using any weapons. But, you know, that would also be super, super, super boring both to play and watch. I mean, I won't lie to you, Classic WoW has a problem of being a little bit unwatchable anyways. So that is, by the way, why I am so thankful for all of you that have in the past interacted with me on the live streams. That makes both the watching as well as the playing and entertaining part a whole lot more fun. And if you can make it, you know, try to check out the community tabs for our next live streams. Usually I would be doing one every Sunday at the least, but the thing is, like I said, I will be on vacation until the 5th of September, starting on the 29th of August, so there won't be any live streams, there probably won't be any uploads. I do have a laptop that I can use, and, you know, maybe I'll sneak in a quick Scarlet Monastery alpha video, but that's only depending on whether or not I can get a decent-ish microphone going to record it with. Eventually, we finally managed to get enough linen goods to complete all those quests, and we make our way back to Goldshire and then back to the Westbrook garrison, where I was hoping to find a group for Hogger, but we were relatively fast compared to other people. Now, obviously, I wasn't on world record pace and I wasn't the highest level by any means, but considering that we were not using weapons, we were ahead of the pack by a fair margin. So we didn't actually find anyone that was willing to, group for Hogger with us, which meant that we spent about, behind the scenes, 35 minutes, I think, beating up gnolls for their armbands. And that meant that, I actually would hit level 10 before I would be doing Hogger, which probably is a good idea anyways. And even though you can see me invite someone for it here, we don't end up actually finding more people than just him. And, even though you could maybe probably do it with a rogue and a paladin on level 9, definitely on level 10 you could. Since I'm not wearing a weapon, I am sort of opting for the safe approach here and not really, gonna risk it with someone that I don't know. If I had a friend here that I was in Discord with, then, I would probably even risk it without a weapon. But since that's not the case, and we don't find a third or a fourth, eventually the guy drops our group. As you can see here, after the cut, he is gone now. And we are kind of fighting 3 gnolls at once. I don't know how exactly that happened. Must have been 1 patrol and us having pulled 2 already. But obviously what you can do is just run near a guard and have them handle business for you. You won't get credit for the kill unless you did more than 50% HP damage, which I'm not going to be able to do competing against these guys with just my bare hands. But, they're dead, I'm alive, that's what matters. And eventually, hopefully, we will actually find the last armband, I think right here on this guy. But as you can see, he's level 10, I'm level 9.5, and they are laying into me pretty damn badly. So I'm hoping that eventually, if we ever make it to plate armor, that's gonna change a little bit. But around level 10 to 11, or let's say 9 to 11, I was struggling with these boys quite a bit. So I decided to sod it, run into Westfall, and yeah, I did stick to the roads all the way through because I'm not a maniac, and I turned in the report to grind stout metal quest, as well as I accepted the Flight Master quest. So I hope that you enjoyed this first look, and I would love for you to join me live as we do this, starting, on the 5th of September again. This is going to be the first part of the series, level 1 to 10, and as you can see here, we managed just fine. Have a great day, and make sure to check back for new videos in the future. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.